Given the comments from Commerce Secretary Ross that everybody will get over this in due course, do you agree?
I think the policy is ludicrous. Of course, 50 years from now, people will not remember this episode. But the truth is, we shot the economy in our foot today by raising the price of a key input for industries that employ 6 million people in order to protect industries that employ less than 100,000 people. We damaged relations with our closest allies. We undermined the system that has enabled the United States to prosper, and we threatened our national security by driving a wedge between our allies at a moment when we've got real challenges with respect to China to face. So yes, all mistakes can and are corrected in the fullness of time, but to defend a wanton act of economic aggression that hurts our economy by saying that, all things work out in time is absurd. I'm appalled by the action today.
And Secretary Summers, Commerce Secretary Ross also said that when it comes to additional input costs, be it soup or beer or soda cans, that you're talking about fractions of pennies on the dollar in terms of additional costs. He also said when you're talking about the impact of tariffs and even retaliatory tariffs from the EU, which are now being threatened, that it's still less than 1% of GDP. When you use a term like shoot ourselves in the foot, do you disagree?
First of all, 1% of GDP is $160 billion. Where I come from, that's a huge amount of money. So yes, if you compare things to the whole economy, whatever, but $160 billion is a lot of money. I assure you that raising the price of steel by 25% adds a lot more than fractions of a penny to the price of domestically produced automobiles. Yes, it may not add that much to the price of a soda can, but why is that the question we're asking? Shouldn't we be asking about the major manufactured goods on which our future prosperity may importantly depend? And of course, his calculation takes no account of the impact of the retaliation that will operate to limit our exports. His calculation takes no account of the uncertainty that will deter investment for anyone who's using inputs. His announcement takes no impact of the reduced efficacy we're going to have in opening the Chinese market when we're squabbling with our traditional allies like Europe and Canada. His calculation takes no account of the damage we've done to NAFTA by, in the midst of a negotiation where we're trying to renew and repair it, suddenly imposing what are probably WTO illegal tariffs on our closest North American neighbors. So I actually think it's an affront to common sense.
I want to dig into this idea of calculations a little bit more, because I'm assuming that you've done some of your own calculations. I mean, looking at the U.S. economy right now, latest reading on consumer spending, it jumped. Manufacturing activity has been robust. We got that new reading on first quarter GDP yesterday, 2.2%, revised down slightly, but still the strongest since at least 2012. How do you see this playing out? And at what point, whether it's this, whether it's these tit-for-tat tariffs going back and forth with China, at what point does this actually start to affect that economic growth? Because it seems pretty strong right now.
Economic growth is pretty strong. That's the legacy of many years of low interest rates. It's the legacy of sugar high from unsustainable tax cuts that have been put in place. But yes, economic growth, it's the legacy of unsustainable increases in asset prices and extensions of credit. No question that economic growth right now is strong, but that doesn't justify taking policy actions that damage our alliances, that push up inflation by imposing tariffs on imported goods. The argument here is that we're taking an action that's making us poorer and is doing real damage to the global economic system and is weakening us vis-a-vis China. And whether the broad forces that drive the business cycle are running well or running poorly really got nothing to do with whether this was a prudent action that was taken today. There are people who are on my side of the argument who like to be hysterical and who say this will drive us into recession. I wouldn't make that claim. I'd settle for the claims that I've made about how damaging this action is.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.